You're listening to the Naptime Empires podcast with my mom, Nikki Elledge Brown. Mom, your show's on.
Thanks, bud. I got it from here. Welcome to the Naptime Empires podcast, refreshingly honest conversations on the realities of parenthood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nikki Elledge Brown. Let's get started. Well, hello there, and welcome to what we are calling Season 4 of the Naptime Empires podcast. This season is dedicated to book mode because you only write your first book once, or like 4 times in slightly different ways, if you're me. But this season, the 4th season, is to chronicle the journey to episode 100. I've decided, I'm committed. We're going all the way to episode 100. I've been super sporadic. Naptime Empires has been really just as inspired. I was pretty hardcore. Actually, when I first launched it, the first season was 2 episodes a week back in early 2017. But otherwise, it's just been a series of anchoring in inspired lessons, moments, reflections, things that I would find valuable, that I hope you would find valuable whenever you need some kind of shot of inspiration or I've been there, you're not alone kind of situation when it comes to parenthood and entrepreneurship. But I'm committed to seeing this baby through to at least episode 100. So this season, season 4, is going to last at least until episode 100. It's partially about that. It's also largely about this journey to the publication of the Naptime Empires book. So in this series of episodes, I'm going to be sharing the good, the bad, the ugly of my creative and procrastinative process. If you've listened loyally, bless you. I love and appreciate you for taking time out of your day to hang out with me in this way. And also, you've heard me talk about the book. You've heard me talk about it. I talked about it in season 3. I've talked about it a lot over the years. I'm tired of just hearing myself talk about it. So now I decided to give you the opportunity also to get tired of hearing me talk about it. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's the point. In this season, I'm just acknowledging that I work best with the Mutual Inspiration Society, which means being in conversation with you, not in a silo, like in my creative cave over here. Not like I'm alone. I do have friends that can probably tell you that they're already tired of me talking about the book, but we all just wanted to be out already. But time has to, just like my little baby girl had to grow and take her sweet time last year, the book is taking its sweet time, but it's coming around the mountain. That's what I'm saying. And I am lovingly challenging myself to get this book out, at least in ebook form, before we hit episode 100. I'm playfully just experimenting here to see, can I get the book out before we hit episode 100 if I keep a pace of about 1 episode update per week? So just so you know, that's where I'm like, my podcast self is power walking, not running. No part of me runs. Power walking a race with my book, butt, and seat self to see who crosses the major milestone finish line first. Either book self is going to publish first, or we're going to get 100 episodes first. Either way, it's a celebration, hashtag growth mindset and all that goodness. So it's going to be fun. And the point is, well, I'm curious, what's your relationship with public accountability? Because at some points it works really well for me. And then other times I'm like, I should have never said anything. There's a really great TED Talk my friend Jada shared with me probably years ago, and I will find a link and put it in the show notes. But it's basically about how sometimes if you say your dreams or your goals out loud, part of your brain actually starts to think, okay, cool. Yeah. So we've already done that. So we don't need to actually take the action. Okay, great. Okay, we're good here. We're good here. And then you don't actually go for it. And I'm wondering if part of me has done that with the book. So if that's true, then I could be making a huge mistake by doing this season of the podcast this way. But I don't think that's the case for me at this moment, because what I'm really committing to with public accountability here is not about the finished product, about the book. It's actually not about the book. Spoiler alert. It's actually just about me sharing my process I'm a bit sentimental. If you have followed me on Instagram, you probably noticed that it's really a lot of digital scrapbooking, and the podcast has been a lot of audio scrapbooking. And I have wanted to be an author since before I could write. In recent history, my sister Stacy found my first book, a copy of my first book. There was only one, limited edition, about a main character named Lisa. I want to say I was probably in first grade, and I drew it on a little flip notepad. So I was writing fiction at the time. I do that sometimes in my head now, but this book is actually going to be nonfiction. And I've been an author in various forms over the years. I wrote and co-wrote lots of papers in grad school that were published. I've been part of compilation style books. I've written forewords for friends. I've written blurbs for friends. I've been baby stepping my way to having my own actual book. This will be self-published, this first book at least. I've been, baby stepping my way to this for years. But what I'm realizing is that I've had it built up so much. I'm sure that's like 99% of the resistance to actually getting out there, because I have written it. And I've mentioned this back in season 3, so you can revisit those episodes if you haven't listened to them on updates, like back in pandemic time. Season 3, by the way, is awesome. If you haven't listened, I had a batch full of pandemic pregnancy conversations with biz buddies around the world. And those are all there and amazingly inspiring for all kinds of various reasons. But a couple of the episodes were solo episodes in season 3 where I was updating, because I had written like 94,000 words in 12 days in the spring of 2020 when we were fresh into quarantine. And I was, I don't know the math, probably into second trimester of my pregnancy with my little lady Noe, my muse, and she was really inspiring me for the human Pomodoro piece of it all, right? So I'll get more into the who, what, where, when, and catch you up to speed in another episode. This is really just to kind of set the scene and tell you where we're going from here. The main idea, and I share all this context to illustrate that I have been dreaming of author pants and owning my author pants for decades. It has felt as much as a part of my identity in this lifetime as being a mom. Like, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I always knew I wanted to be an author of books. And this is the journey of a friendly competition between my podcasting self and my book writing self as we streamline the most recent round of revisions, because that's where I'm at. It's not that I'm starting from scratch. I've got a lot to work with. It's literally a matter of mind mapping. To me, I'm kind of decluttering the manuscript, making sure that everything that's there, I actually want it to be there. Does it spark verbal joy? That's the phase that I'm at. It doesn't have to take me a long time, but it might. And this is about the process, because what I'm realizing is, because it's been built up for decades, I have so many things that I've had to release around it so that I can let the theoretical, hypothetical author self go. Thank her for the placeholder and the space holder that she's been for this whole time. And let my actual real, oh geez, there's a typo, how did it make it past us? Or, oh wow, my perspective and level of awareness has changed, and I really wish I could change that, even though now it's already in print. Like, I need to let my real, messy, true author self come to life. And I'm documenting it here in this form because I feel inspired to, partially just because I know this is how I work best, but also because, you know how people are like on Instagram, a lot of people have been asking me about my skincare routine. Nobody's asked me about my skincare routine, but a lot of people have been asking me about my book progress. And that's not because I'm cool. It's because I've actually asked you to check in with me about the book via my own podcast and also via other people's podcasts. When I've done interviews, I have given people full license to message me and be like, hey, Nikki, how's the book coming? What's the deal? And it's not because I could really be peer pressured into anything, because my personal F management system is super dialed in. So if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. But I appreciate, because I know this is something that is really important to me, I appreciate the social accountability and checking in. So I'm sharing it in this form, 1 for accountability, 2 for memory keeping, and audio scrapbooking, because really it's to me, this is really special. It's like, it's not like having my first baby. I'm not actually comparing it. I don't actually subscribe to that having a book is like having a baby or whatever. But in a sense that it's been something that's been really important to me my whole life, it is like that. So I do actually want to document it because I'm only going to be on the other side of it once. And then once I've written the first book and I've self-published the first book, then I know what it's like. And it'll be different, sure, with future books and all that, but not really. It's like whenever I was creating this podcast and it felt this big amorphous, how does it come from my mouth into a phone, into a podcast player? Like it was just such a mystery. All these processes behind the scenes, how does this work? And then once I had done it once, it's demystified and you understand it. And that's cool in many ways. But it's also special to be on this side where I'm a little bit like, I don't really know where I'm going. I'm a little bit bumbly. I've got lots of resources, lots of amazing people that are supporting me. So I'm not soliciting advice. I want to be clear about that. Although I do think it'd be helpful. And maybe at some point I'll put out an official call to like round up resources for people who are looking for books or for help with writing and all the different processes. But that's actually the third piece of this, is that I feel deep in my soul, because this has been such a big thing for me forever, that I've wanted to do that. Once I'm on the other side of it, especially with my background in helping people with writing and using their real voices and that kind of thing, like I'm going to want to help you with this. I mean, I'm wondering, you might have already written a book or multiple books or whatever, or maybe you have no interest. But I imagine that if you're listening, chances are high that you do also want to write a book. Maybe not. But if you do, I feel like once I'm on the other side of the wall, kind of like if you watched the interview with James Corden and Prince Harry recently, when they did the obstacle course, it's like, once you're on the other side of the wall, like you want to help your buddy up. I feel like that's what I'm going to want to do. I actually dream of that. I think it'll be so amazing to have writing retreats, and it'll just be so much easier to help you once I'm on the other side of it. So that's why I'm doing this. It's partially for accountability. It's partially for documenting memories, because once I'm on the other side of it, then I kind of get it. And partially because I want to document it so that it might be helpful to you. If nothing else, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one who's getting stuck around on this thing. Or, hey, at least I'm better off than Nikki at this point. Like whatever it is, I'm hoping that it's of value to you if you do choose to tune in. And so things that I expect to be sharing, some of the episodes may be long, some may be short, some may be topical, some may be progress updates in pseudo real time. And it's, as you can tell just by the casual nature, if you are new to this podcast, I really do treat it kind of like live streaming, because otherwise I would just never finish a freaking episode. So this is not like a super polished, edited, where I take out my ums and stutters or vocal fillers kind of podcast. This is part of the reason why the book is taking me so long, because I will style a sentence way beyond is necessary. Okay. So different things that I imagine that I'll be talking about. I'll be sharing the process, what I've been working with, who I've been working with, that like what's been helpful, what's not been very helpful to me, how I'm handling resistance, how I spark my own inspiration, what kind of practices and habits have been helpful, lessons, reflections. And then also, because this is the Naptime Empires podcast, it's not just book mode, random in a vacuum. This is the Naptime Empires podcast. And I have 3 kiddos under the age of 10 right now who are all home. Also, P.S., we bought an RV shortly after Noe arrived. I don't think I've documented that in podcast form yet. So sometimes we're going to be camping. Sometimes, I'm setting timelines based around, am I going to have a good cell signal, or am I actually going to have any bandwidth to sit down and write? Or are we just going to be in camping mode, which is just about like keeping everybody safe and reasonably clean and that kind of thing. Hashtag great outdoors. Yeah. So that's the plan. I'm documenting the journey. If you're down to go with me, then I would love to have you. I'm not trying to put pressure on myself, because then I might scare my inspiration away. But I just want to be able to be honest with you and honest with me, and just have regular check-ins. So that is the point of season 4 of book mode. it would be so amazing on the other side of this to have completed this Naptime Empires capstone project of 100 podcast episodes and the book. I mean, I could actually probably cry just thinking about that and this journey that we've been on for so many years. I mean, from 2014 when the idea came to me whenever I was pregnant and that pregnancy didn't last, to after Deke was born at the very end of 2015, the start of 2016, when I felt inspired, like it's time to talk about this. I want to talk about how me being a mom is affecting me as an entrepreneur and creatively and all of that, to finally launching in 2017, the move across the ocean. There's just so many moments and conversations anchored in. Even just today, I listened back to at least 5 episodes while I was just, doing things around the house today of conversations with friends over the years. And it's just inspiring to me to hear how even their stories have evolved over the last few years since we spoke, like each one of these episodes is like a time capsule. And to me, that's just really cool because what we're doing here, whether we're writing emails or blog posts or Instagram captions or podcasts or books, we're leaving a digital footprint that's like a legacy, especially if you're a parent. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably are. But even if you're not, like what we're saying and these words that we're putting out there for other people to appreciate or judge or critique or whatever, this is us leaving our mark. The silly and the serious and the deep and the shallow and the thoughtful and the goofy, like all of these things, this is just who we are in this lifetime. And each of our voices have a unique something to contribute. So by me recommitting to the podcast and also the book, it's in a way me committing to showing up and saying like, I was here. Here's what I was going through. And if nothing else, my kids one day could listen to this and be like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know what she was doing up there. She kept talking about her book. I do explain what I'm doing, but how much can they really get it when they're 9, 5, and 7 months old? So that's why this is valuable to me. And I really appreciate you, like I said, just hanging out and being willing to be on the journey with me in this way, but also just in this life and in this Naptime Empires conversation, just the greater conversation. I mean, the book is really about conversation starters. It all comes back to whenever I started the podcast, I was like, well, I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying I know, here's how to do this. Here's how to start a business and build a business and raise kids. There's no one right way to do it, of course. So all I want to do is contribute to the conversation, give you some food for thought, some of my field notes of here's what's working, here's what's not, here's one interesting thing, here's what I come back to whenever I'm not sure. That's what I've been doing in the podcast. That's what I'm going to be doing in the book. And I already feel super sparky and inspired, dang it, because now it's bedtime. Everybody's quiet and I should go to sleep too because I have a writing date in the morning. So that's the perfect way to wrap this up. I got to go to bed so that I can write and work on the book in the morning. But what I wanted to share and to invite you officially to join the conversation is to go to naptimeempires.com/convo. And that's where I have the Google form where you can share your questions, like anything that you're curious about from my own process. Of course, again, I'm not positioning myself as an expert. That's not happening. I'm just sharing where I'm at, like my perspective, my experience. So, and that goes for pretty much everything. So if you have any questions, anything you just want to tell me in general, then you can go to naptimeempires.com/convo. I really do see this as a conversation and I love hearing from you, like really, really love hearing from you. So I encourage you to go there, naptimeempires.com/convo, and let me know if you're here, you're down for book mode and you're with me. I would love to know it. So that's all I've got for you right now. I'll be back soon with another update and catch you up to speed. And yeah, I'm like kind of nervous, but the good kind of nervous. I'm excited to see where this goes. It feels so good to be back and have the microphone dusted off and not to be like having a hard time breathing because I'm 37 weeks pregnant. I think the last solo episode I recorded, I was like, sorry for breathing in your ear so much. But she's here. She's awesome. And I'll do some more lifey. Like I said, it's not going to be all book stuff. I'll talk about some lifey stuff and some mom stuff and how things are going this round too. So if you have any questions about that, make sure you stick them in there at naptimeempires.com/combo. All right, I hope you have a beautiful day, night, wherever you are. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll talk to you soon. This show may be over, but the conversation is just beginning. Head on over to naptimeempires.com/Facebook so you can join my free... Wait, did I say free? I meant priceless, rapidly growing community of Naptime Empire builders for deeper discussions, behind-the-scenes scoop, and of course, updates whenever I've got new stuff coming up for you. naptimeempires.com/Facebook. See you there.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.
Good job, buddy.